Disclaimer. This is written to provide information about self-improvement. Every effort has been made as complete and accurate as possible. Therefore, this should be used as a guide, not as the ultimate source. The purpose of this is to educate. The author and publisher shall have neither liability nor responsibility to any person or entity with respect to any loss or damage caused or alleged to be caused directly or indirectly. Stay focused and get motivated. Coming up next. Anyone can come up with a goal, but not everyone has the ability to achieve it. For that to happen, you need to take action first. Goals are not like dreams or prayers. You cannot just close your eyes and wish for it to happen. You have to do something. But of course, it does not end there. Certainly, taking the first step toward reaching your goal is the most crucial, but it is not the only thing you have to do. There are a lot more steps to take and work hard on, and for that, you need to be focused. You need to learn how to ignore distractions. Perhaps in a perfect world, no person would have to be subjected to distraction when trying to accomplish a goal. But this is reality, and distraction comes in all shapes and sizes. Sometimes, distraction comes from within. This is the worst obstacle of all, because how do you ignore something that lives inside your mind or heart? This is when motivation kicks in. As the old adage goes, when the going gets tough, the going gets tougher. Goals are like a destination that you have to reach. Taking action is what gives you direction toward your goal. Staying focused ensures that you are always on the right path. And lastly, motivation is what makes sure that you will do anything and everything to reach the end of the path, arrive at your destination, and achieve your goal. This is a never-ending and rather flexible cycle. At times, you will need to motivate yourself in order to take action. Other times, you need to take action to stay focused. In any case, which goes first does not matter, so do not be surprised if you find yourself jumping from one tip to another. What matters is that you are taking all the positive steps toward reaching your goal. So if you are ready to finally make your goal come true, then here goes. Tip number 1, just do it. The first step is always the hardest. Your mind will come up with all sorts of scenarios to prevent you from taking that scary first step toward your goal. That does not mean you are a coward, though. It is just your brain's way of defending yourself. Sometimes, though, you have to listen to what your heart has to say and just do it. Everything else will be a lot easier once you get past the first hurdle, and that is to ignore your brain's dire warnings and go with your gut instinct. Tip number 2, doing something is not always a physical thing. It is understandable if you mistook the need for taking action as doing something literally or physically. Yet you see, there are many other ways for you to take action without even lifting a finger. For that matter, consider the act of planning. It is never wise to try achieving a goal without a plan. If you want to spend the least amount of time and effort in achieving your goal, then you need to come up with a step-by-step plan for accomplishing it. A good plan takes into account all potential consequences as well as all the possible avenues you may take in order to reach your objective. Tip number 3, breathing helps. Are you feeling nervous or nauseous? It is normal to feel uneasy about doing anything to reach your goal. Taking action is often synonymous to taking risk. You are nervous because you know that risks can either end with success or failure, and who wants to end up failing? Whenever you feel like there is a panic attack coming in, just take a deep breath. Better yet, take several deep breaths. Studies show how breathing can effectively clear the mind and help calm your nerves. So go ahead and breathe, inhale all the way from your stomach to take full advantage. Tip number 4, take a page from the most successful books. You may think that you are the only one suffering a certain kind of problem of a certain magnitude in this world, but you are not. With a little research, you are sure to find something in common with ordinary and extraordinary people. Tip number 5, take baby steps. Do not push yourself to achieve the same things with the same amount of time and resources the way other people had done. In the end, you have to remind yourself that every person is unique and, consequently, his own set of strengths and weaknesses. Also, it could be that you are just starting out and the other person you are comparing yourself to is years ahead of you in terms of expertise and experience. The other person cannot afford to take baby steps, but you can and you should. If you rush things too much, everything may end up backfiring on you. Tip number 6, Rome wasn't built in a day. This is obviously related to the above tip, but it is different in the way that it takes into account what you want to do with your time. It is good to have a plan for everything, but you do not have to accomplish everything in a single day. Even if you have the energy to do so, the people around you and who also have something at stake in reaching your shared goals may not have the time and similar energy to do so. Give them a break. If all of you have truly worked hard, then all you deserve to rest. There is always tomorrow to think about it. Tip number 7, do not pressure yourself. Pressuring yourself is different from motivating yourself. Motivating yourself will get you to take action, while pressuring yourself will only succeed in freezing your limbs and brain cells into a state of inaction. There are sure to be other people and other sources you will receive a lot of flack and pressure about getting things done. Why burden yourself with more pressure when you can give yourself a pep talk instead? Tip number 8, a little competition is good, just do not make a big deal out of it. Competition can make you take action because the more you delay, the further behind you will be in achieving your goal. Friendly competition is also effective for staying focused and getting you pumped up, but be careful. If you let yourself focus too much on the competition, then you may end up forgetting about the bigger picture. In the end, being too competitive may be another source of distraction that you absolutely do not need. Tip number 9, believe in yourself. Taking action requires you to have faith in yourself, especially when everyone around you is telling you that you cannot do it. In the end, you have to remember that you know yourself best. You know what you are capable of, and if you believe that the goal you have in mind is well within your reach, then it truly is, no matter what others may say. Tip number 10, get a companion. Just because you have someone with you and willing to help you out does not mean you are not strong enough to accomplish your goal. It also does not make your goal any less satisfying. If anything, the goal becomes sweeter because you have someone to share it with. If you feel that you need your wife to be at your side to accomplish a particular goal, then go and make it happen, and again, forget about what anyone else has to say. As long as you are not hurting yourself or anyone else, then there is nothing wrong with what you are doing. Tip number 11, get someone to do it for you. Taking action also does not mean that you have to do everything alone. Say your goal is to build a house. Does that mean you should do everything, from putting up boards and painting the walls? Of course not. Taking action may also mean finding the best person to do the job. So do not be shy to admit if something is well beyond your actual KSA's knowledge, skills, and abilities. There are just some things in life that are better left in the hands of an expert. Tip number 12, do not be too proud to ask for help. A lot of people confuse taking action as doing something that directly contributes to achieving a particular goal. What they fail to understand is that sometimes, indirect benefits also matter just as much. Consider, for instance, the act of forgetting about your pride. Some people may say that it has nothing to do with achieving a certain type of goal, but what if it is your pride that is holding you back from getting much needed help from an expert? Tip number 13, it is okay to start again. What if there comes a point in time that you realize that the first step you took was actually the wrong one? Or what if you suddenly realize that what you are doing is not taking you toward your goal but away from it? Do you just sit down and cry over spilled milk? If so, that is not equivalent to taking action. You may be doing something, but it is nothing that can help you achieve your goal. If you realize that something is wrong, then clear your mind and retrace your steps until you find out the critical mistake you committed. Correct it and move on. If you have to, start from scratch, the sooner, the better. Tip number 14, never stop trying. As mentioned earlier, the process of achieving one's goal is never ending. Taking action also means that you have to get back to your feet if you stumble or fall. It is even okay if you have to start all over again. In the end, what is critical is that you do not let your failures keep you from continuously taking action and moving forward. So go ahead and pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and learn from your mistakes. You will be a better and stronger person for doing this. Tip number 15, have a backup plan. Plans, just like rules, are meant to be broken. And you need to be prepared for that eventuality right from the start by having a contingency or backup plan ready. Others feel that backup plans are akin to admitting failure. It is not. Rather, backup plans are actually a mere way of acknowledging the fact that change is the only thing that is constant in the world. There is no way for you to predict what is going to happen in the next minute, but you can try to prepare for things that could happen. Think of it as smoothing the way to taking action toward achieving your goal. Tip number 16, consider your resources. Taking action gives you direction, but that is not what it is all about. You also have to consider the resources you have on hand. How do you make the most out of it? What other resources do you need in order to make a move? Where can you get it? Willpower and motivation as well as focus are all great things to have, but these are internal resources. You also have to back up your plan with external and concrete resources like money, manpower, and skills. Tip number 17, look before you leap, but leap all the same if you have to. There are two kinds of risks, manageable and unmanageable. You are lucky if all the things you have to do to reach your goal involve manageable risks. But what if it is not? Should you back out instead and let all your previous hard work go to waste? Risks are scary, and it is a good thing that you are aware of that. Those who think that they can take on any kind of risk are simply foolhardy and reckless. They are certainly not brave or exceptionally smart. If you come across an unmanageable risk or one where the stakes are too high, do look before you leap. Consider the ups and downs, but most importantly of all, consider what your brain and guts have to say. Then leap, and leap high, if you really need to. Tip number 18, do not be too rigid or stubborn. You have to know when to give up and change tactics. On paper, your plan may look foolproof and absolutely brilliant, but a lot of things in the real world are unpredictable and can mess up with your plan. You have to know when to stop knocking yourself against the wall and find another way toward reaching your goal. Remember, when there is a will, there is a way. If your plan A did not work, what else is your plan B good for if you are not willing to use it? Tip number 19, do not wait for things to happen. Make it happen instead. The most successful people in life are always those who are active participants in life rather. Instead of passively waiting, hoping, and wishing that something would happen to them, people who are go-getters do not hesitate to act proactively and make things happen. They are not the kind to wait for a sign from the fates or a falling star to appear in the sky before they get moving. If they have a goal in sight, and they have a plan for achieving it, then they will move heaven and earth to get it. Tip number 20, give yourself a reasonable deadline. Existing commitments may be a valid reason for preventing you from taking action completely to achieving your goal, but you also have to understand that these commitments are never going to go away. They are there for life. It is therefore unreasonable to keep pushing off the need to take a proactive stand because of your commitments. You have to be firm with yourself and give yourself a deadline. Sometimes, that is the only way to get things done. Tip number 21, be decisive. When you do commit yourself to a plan and take action, do be decisive about it. This will help smooth things up more and make it easier for you to achieve your goal. If you are in a leadership position, people are unlikely to have faith in your decision if they can see that you yourself do not have faith in what you are doing. You have to show them that you know what needs to be done and you have the power to help everyone reach their goals, if they follow you. Tip number 22, make a checklist. Checklists show you where you are, how much you have progressed, and what still needs to be done in order to achieve your goal. Even if you suddenly fall sick and have to leave the office for a week, the moment you get back your all-important checklist will be enough to bring you up to speed. Tip number 23, set a schedule. The quickest way to reaching your goal is to create a schedule for it, and stick to it. How many hours each day can you truly set aside for reaching your goal? What part of the day is the best time to work on reaching your goal? A schedule also means having a specific place for you to do your work. Choose something that will benefit the kind of work that you are doing and the kind of person you are. Will something peaceful and quiet work more for you, or do you prefer to be working outdoors and surrounded by sounds of nature? Tip number 23, make it a habit. It is not enough, of course, to simply make a schedule. After all, creating one is easy, it is the doing part that is difficult. To make it easier for you to keep to your schedule, you have to turn it into a habit. Treat it as an integral part of your day that you absolutely cannot miss. Your body does not automatically search for caffeine in the morning just because it wants to. It was trained to do so by repetitive action, strengthened by your own desire for a delicious cup of coffee. Your mind also does not look for its daily fix of quiz shows in the evenings for no reason. It was trained to do so as well. So why can't you train yourself to make your goal achievement schedule a part of your daily routine as well? Tip number 24, no excuses. It is critical that you do not allow yourself any excuses. If you do, then the excuses will never stop. Your body has a giving in muscle, and every time you give in, it gets more powerful. Before you know it, that muscle has been flexed so much that it is impossible to ignore. Tip number 25, if you really have to, then it is okay to negotiate the terms, but to keep your word. There are times when no matter how hard you try, you just cannot find the energy to do the work. Or perhaps you are too occupied or excited by something else that your focus on achieving your goal is absolutely ruined. At times like this, there really is no other option left but to negotiate the terms of your schedule. If you are supposed to work 4 hours today yet you can only work 3, then work an extra hour tomorrow or the day after. It is important to specify the date for your negotiated term and of course to keep your word to yourself. This, however, is one thing that you absolutely must not make a habit of. Tip number 26, eliminate distraction. Distraction is your focus's greatest enemy. Like temptation, it is insidious and will find all sorts of ways to mess with your concentration. Before you even start working, you should start by eliminating all possible sources of distraction. Distraction can also be internal. These are those niggling doubts and worries that do nothing to help you reach your goal. You need to practice pushing them to the back of your mind. Keep practicing and they soon won't be a bother at all. Tip number 27, log out from all social networking and social messaging systems as well as internet forums. You may say that you find lots of great information and are able to stay connected with your network or market by keeping yourself online, but surely your personal life or business can exist for a few hours without being on Twitter and Facebook radar. No matter how you look at it, in the end, Twitter, Facebook, forums, and all other ways to communicate with people online will only be a potential source of distraction. If you have to, set a separate schedule for it, but this is one activity that should not be a part of your multitasking list. Tip number 28, meditate. Numerous studies have already proven that meditation techniques, just like breathing exercises, are helpful in clearing your mind and improving your focus. If the words and figures that you are supposed to analyze are blurring right before your eyes, it is definitely the time to meditate. If your anger or resentment is making it difficult for you to concentrate, meditating will also do the trick. You do not need to chant any mantras to meditate, although if you feel it will help, go ahead and do so. But in any case, finding a quiet place to sit and close your eyes and let your mind wander freely is good enough. Do try not to lie down while meditating as you may end up sleeping instead. Tip number 29, take a time out but time it. Sometimes, you can get a little burned out if you have been working too hard for the past few days. When this happens, it is okay to take a little breather from your work schedule. Of course, timeouts cannot last forever, so do make sure that you time it as well. If you are working only for a few hours, then 15 to 30 minutes should be enough. If, however, your schedule encompasses the whole day, then an hour at the most would be sufficient. Anything longer than that may make you too lazy enough to get back to work. Tip number 30, are you sleeping enough? This is one of those cases when science has the last say, and according to its experts, sleep can have a significant impact on your ability to concentrate. Having enough hours of sleep will improve your concentration. Having too little or too much of it, however, would cause you problems with staying focused. To get enough sleep every night, you should try keeping regular hours or at least have a fixed schedule for sleeping. Eliminate all sources of distraction as well. Consider this as another goal for you to focus on and take action for. Tip number 31, diet matters. Diet also has to do with your ability to stay focused. A proper and healthy meal plan for the day will go a long way in improving your mind's ability to work and increase your stamina. Make sure you also take in enough vitamins and minerals as well. If necessary, take health supplements. Tip number 32, exercise matters as well. Again, you may argue that exercising may not have anything to do with helping you save money for your first car or reaching this month's sales quota, but actually, it does. Or at least that is what most scientific studies are suggesting. Like meditating, sleeping, and the right, a sufficient amount of daily exercise will also help improve the state of your mind. That you will get fitter and look more fabulous are just icing on the cake. Tip number 33, enjoy what you are doing. Find a way to make the process of achieving your goal enjoyable. Sometimes, it only takes a change of scenery. Other times, you just have to find the right angle to look at your situation. When you are doing something you love, such as baking, reading, or dancing, then you absolutely have no problems concentrating, don't you? But if you are being forced to do something you hate, then only with the greatest effort are you able to keep yourself focused on your work. Tip number 34, how about a change of pace? Focus is also dependent on pace. You may be trying to do things too fast or slow for your brain to actually enjoy what you are doing. When your pace is too punishingly fast, you are more liable to commit mistakes. In your effort to save yourself time, you are actually causing yourself to suffer greater delays since some of your tasks have to be redone or rectified. Using an excessively slow or relaxing pace is no good either. Do not overestimate your ability to work because that can ultimately develop into procrastination if you are not careful. Tip number 35, consider a change of setting. Sometimes, working in the same place day in and day out can get a little boring, and your mind will start to wander relentlessly. When you have tried your best to keep your mind from wandering to no avail, then a change of setting may be in order. Look for a different place, just for a day or two, to stay when it is time to work on achieving your goal. A new place may be enough to spark your interest in your goals. It may also help get your creative juices flowing and give you an idea or two on how to better motivate yourself. Tip number 36, be methodical. The best way to stay focused is to be methodical. Do not choose a random point to start working toward your goal. Whatever it is you are aiming for, even if it is to improve your marriage or lose weight, there is sure to be a methodical or logical system for doing it. Taking a methodical approach helps improve your focus because it enables you to see where you are going. If you are feeling a little bored concentrating on the task at hand, you can switch your attention to making the necessary adjustments to prepare for the tasks in line. Tip number 37, music is 50-50. The truth is, some people find music relaxing and helpful to their work. Others, however, find it too relaxing that they end up sleeping, or they find it too entertaining that they end up forgetting all about the task at hand. You have to determine for yourself if music will serve as an aid to improving your focus or a distraction instead. Tip number 38, it is all about what you think and feel. Well-meaning friends may encourage you to try this and that to improve focus. Certainly, there is nothing wrong with taking their words into account. Remember, however, that every person is built differently. What may work for them may not work for you. That does not mean, however, only one of you is doing the right thing. In the end, the best way to improve your focus is to do what works for you and not others. Tip number 39, do not be a pushover. Some people will try to sway your mind and make you feel guilty about the time you are devoting to your goal. Whatever it may be, if your goal is important to you and is not cruel or harmful to yourself or anyone, then you have all the right in the world to devote yourself to it. Tip number 40, do not allow emotional conflicts to get in your way. One of the worst kinds of distractions is emotional conflict. This kind of problem eats away at your concentration. If there is anything that is bothering you, resolve it right away before getting back to work. Do not allow it to fester inside you. The longer you delay resolving such conflicts, the harder a time you will have found a way to reopen the discussion about it. Tip number 41, know your priorities. If you are torn between doing two things, you have to give yourself another ultimatum. Which is the more important priority, the goal you are working on or the alternative? Be brutally frank to yourself as you consider your options. If you have to choose which of the two you should lose, which of them are you willing to give up? Tip number 42, consider your energy patterns. This may sound a little too scientific, but rest assured that it is not. People have different energy patterns for various reasons. Some people, for instance, simply feel more energized to work in the middle of the night because there is absolutely no distraction to worry about, with everyone fast asleep. Others like to work first thing in the morning because it makes them feel productive. Their energy then wanes when it gets to lunchtime but jumps back up when it is in the early evening. Try to familiarize yourself with your energy pattern. Think back on the days you were asked to complete a particular task. When are you typically more efficient in completing your work? When are you less than diligent in working on your tasks? Tip number 43, maximize your time. Maximize your time in the sense that you should delegate what may be delegated to other capable individuals, thus allowing you to concentrate on the most critical tasks. Your focus will be ruined if you have a million things to do and yet you are worrying the most about only 3 of them. If this is the case, you will never get to finish anything. Do yourself a favor. Find people whom you can trust to do a part of your work and then devote yourself to doing what you feel needs the most of your attention. Tip number 44, chew things down into manageable pieces. Say you were given one whole cake to eat. Should you swallow it down in one bite? It would be pretty impossible to make an entire cake fit your mouth, but you can definitely eat it all if you cut it into several slices. From there, you can eat a slice of cake one bite after another. Sometimes, focusing on the bigger picture alone is not helpful. There are times when you have to forget about the bigger picture first and concentrate on one part of the picture at a time. Tip number 45, make allowances for mistakes. Nobody is perfect. There will be times when nothing you can do is right. It is critical that you prepare beforehand for this and make allowances for mistakes. If you can complete a task for 30 minutes, try giving yourself 40 minutes instead. This way, you will not be terribly backed up if you do end up making a mistake or two. Giving yourself allowances will also prevent your mistakes from breaking your stride. You will keep going, no matter what, like an Energizer bunny. Tip number 46, practice memory improvement techniques. Memory and focus are intertwined in many ways. As such, improving your memory will consequently improve your ability to concentrate. There are many ways to improve your concentration. You can find free exercises online. You can also try joining a memory training workshop or read a memory enhancement book. There are also memory training software programs that you could try. Tip number 47, learn how to read effectively. Whether your goal is personal, work-related, or something else, there will surely be a time when your goal would require you to read something. This should not be a problem, however, if you learn how to read effectively. The world's fastest readers do not really read every word of the book or material they are reading. Rather, most speed readers are good at skimming and finding context clues. Their mind and eyes are trained to find the most important parts of each page and paragraph. Even if they have a limited amount of time to finish reading something, they will not have any problems grasping the most salient points about it. The written word is one of the most notoriously common things that many people have a hard time focusing on. You will not have to sue 3FFER the same fate if you just take the time to learn how to read effectively. Tip number 48, be eager to learn. No one is too smart to stop learning. You will have an easier time focusing on new topics or tasks if train yourself not to be reluctant to learn about new things. Granted, old dogs have a hard time learning new tricks, but surely you have more brain cells and willpower than canines. Knowledge is a beautiful thing, and you should not turn your back on the opportunity to learn something new if it is given to you. Tip number 49, if you are the type and if it helps, praise. Religion is purely personal, just like goals are. If prayer matters to a lot to you, then asking for a little bit of divine intervention would not go amiss. As the Bible says, ask and ye shall receive. Other religions in the world are sure of the same mind even if they couch it in different terms. Tip number 50, remind yourself of the consequences. If you are extremely tempted to give up on what you are doing and just lose yourself in having fun instead, remind yourself of the possible consequences, and that is sure to get you back in line. Say you want to lose weight. If you eat that extra cup of rice tonight, it would mean having to spend an extra hour in the gym tomorrow. If you fail to do that, it will mean having your weight increase by 2 pounds. In time, it will mean not being able to fit into that new swimsuit you so wanted to wear to the beach party you are planning to attend, which the guy of your dreams is sure to attend as well. Now ask yourself again, do you still want to stray from the task at hand? Tip number 51, remind yourself that you are not the only one at stake. Most of the time, the goals you want to achieve affect others as well. Say it is your aim to increase profits by 25% by the end of the year. If you do not reach your goal in time, then you will not be able to give your staff the Christmas party and end-of-the-year bonuses they so richly deserve. If you do not care about the consequences you will suffer from by losing focus, surely you are not selfish enough to ignore how your decision will impact others? Tip number 52, forward all calls to your voice mailbox. Phones, all types of it, are also a source of distraction. Change your answering machine's message to let people know that you absolutely cannot afford to be disturbed. If they truly care about you, they are sure to understand. Be sure, however, to let them know that you will be checking your email inbox every hour. If they have a drastic need to contact you, then they better start typing their emails. Tip number 53, limit your email checking to 5 minutes per hour. It really cannot be more than that because you are only supposed to reply to emails that absolutely require a response. Anything less than important should be set aside. You have to be very firm about this rule or you will end up procrastinating again. Tips to get motivated. Tip number 54, remember that checklist? Do not forget to tick it off. Seeing your checklist near to completion will always work as a great boost to your confidence. If you were able to accomplish so much already, surely you can accomplish the rest of your tasks? Tip number 55, use affirmations. Affirmations are basically positive statements that you tell to yourself repeatedly like a mantra. These are supposed to help you enjoy a positive frame of mind and be more confident about accomplishing your goal. Some people say that affirmations should not use potential forms of verbs like I can. In order to further convince themselves of their abilities, affirmations should start with words such as I will and I am, because you are that sure about yourself. Tip number 56, think of internal rewards to congratulate yourself. Positive reinforcement is always a good thing, so do not forget to give yourself a pat on the back when you have completed one of the most fundamental steps to achieving your goal. Now is the time to start tweeting about your latest task. Let yourself bask in the praise of your loved ones and friends, as this will surely get you going. Tip number 57, reward yourself materially as well. Material rewards certainly matter, too. It does not have anything extravagant, although if it is something you can afford and truly want, then you can also promise yourself a big reward when you reach your goal. Try to be a little creative about your rewards. You can pamper yourself with a massage, take a trip out of town, or allow yourself a night out dining in the most expensive restaurant in the area. It can also be something as simple as letting yourself laze the weekend away doing nothing and enjoying other small luxuries that you usually do not have time for. Ultimately, just think about what will make you happy, and do it. Tip number 58, reassess your goal. Sometimes, the reason why you have a hard time motivating yourself is that your goal is no longer important. From time to time, you should reevaluate your goal and find out if it's still as important or it needs a little redefining. Tip number 59, always search for the brighter side. Do not think that there is no brighter side, because there always is. If you feel you have hit rock bottom, there is still a bright side. When you are down, there is no way else but up. Tip number 60, look for a role model. A role model does not have to be someone perfect, famous, or even older than you. Rather, that role model has qualities that you so admire and you wish to have because you will become a better person for it. When you feel like giving up, think about your role model. No one is immune to having temptations, but every person has the power to say no to it. Your role model was strong enough to say no to distraction and stay focused. Surely you can do it too? In the end, both of you are flesh and blood mortals, capable of doing the same thing as long as you put your mind to it. Tip number 61, search for inspiration. Role models are different from inspiration. Role models are someone you try to emulate. People, things, or places to inspire you are also like goals, though. Why is becoming wealthy your goal? It is because you want to give your parents a chance to retire early. Then your parents are your inspiration. When you are extremely frustrated about what is happening and you feel like throwing the towel, picture your parents and what they will be like if they have to continue working for years in spite of their frail health. Tip number 62, do not fail to take advantage of the power of visualization. It is easier to keep yourself motivated when you are able to visualize reaching your dream. Close your eyes and try to imagine what would happen if you were to reach your goal. How would it feel? What would happen afterward? Make it so vivid that you can actually feel the joy of reaching your dream. Tip number 63, proverbs are there for a reason. If you have noticed, proverbs and old sayings have been used throughout the book quite frequently. That is because they are true. Clichés have become clichés because they have been said too often and are essential facts. If there are no words you can think of personally to get yourself motivated, do not hesitate to call in the power of proverbs. Tip number 64, talk to children. Kids say the darndest things indeed, but they also often have an ingenious way of seeing things. With their views untainted by cynicism and greed, children can get you back to seeing the world with rose-colored glasses. Tip number 65, carpe diem. That is Latin for, seize the day, if you have forgotten. Tell yourself that the opportunity your goal represents comes only once in a lifetime. If you do not seize the day, or the moment for that matter, then that chance may never come again. Are you willing to take that risk? Tip number 66, think of the last time you worked against all odds, and won. You are a powerful person, yet sometimes you may need to remind yourself of it. If your confidence has taken a nosedive for any reason, think back of the last time that you worked against all odds. Think of the time that no one had your back and only you had faith in yourself. Think of the time you had taken the role of an underdog, and won. You did it then. You can do it again. Just believe. Tip number 67, join motivation seminars now and then. If you have never tried attending a motivation seminar, it is easy for you to say that these so-called self-help gurus are just out to con you out of your money. But why not give it a try? At most, you will only lose a couple of dollars for attending. Yet what if it works? Then you would have gained so much more. If you have no idea which of today's many inspirational speakers is the best, do not hesitate to ask for recommendations. Check the internet for reviews as well. Tip number 68, remember the little things. Motivation is also a matter of point of view. If you are tired of working or doing something for the sake of achieving your goal alone, then do it just for the sake of it. Do it because you are having fun doing it. Do it because you love it and it makes you feel good. Sometimes, the journey counts more than the actual destination. Tip number 69, keep a gratitude journal. If Oprah herself does this, then surely everyone has the propensity to benefit from it as well. For each day, try to think of as many things as you can that you are sincerely thankful for. If you feel that you have absolutely nothing to be thankful for, then you are wrong. You are alive, aren't you? You can still read this and perhaps take up a pen and write your first post in your thank you journal, can't you? Then that already gives you 3 reasons to be thankful about. Remember, motivation is a matter of perspective. If you cannot see it from one angle, then you probably could in another. Tip number 70, are you tempted to give up? Do insert number here, more. When you feel like you have reached the end of your tether, make one last big push by doing 5 more. Or if you are just one step away from giving in to exhaustion or sleep, then do just 3 or even just 1 more. You may not have completed your schedule for today, but knowing that you gave it your best is enough to give you an energetic and motivated for the next day. Tip number 71, failure is not an option. Granted, you are not stuck in the moon, flying in Apollo 11, but does it really matter? You just have to imagine yourself in the same back against the wall scenario, and that is sure to be motivation enough to work hard. Earlier, you have learned how it is to get past failure and the importance of not beating yourself up about it. Even so, that does not mean you can get away with never worrying about it. Tip number 72, never say never, unless it is to say you will never quit. You may change tactics, rest for a while, and redefine your goal, but none of those means you are quitting. Never should never be a part of your vocabulary, even if that sounds contradictory. The moment you start entertaining doubts is the moment you start losing. Tip number 73, aim to be better and not perfect. Aiming to be perfect is like aiming for the moon. You will never be able to reach for it with your hands. But what you can do is to improve yourself and make yourself or your situation better. You may not be able to reach for the moon, but if you were to arm yourself with a telescope, then the moon could get closer to you instead. Tip number 74, hope for the best but prepare for the worst. Motivation can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it can pierce the clouds of depression and doubts away, and especially when your motivation pays off and you succeed in what you are trying to achieve. But what if you do not get what you want? Motivation can end up hurting you by setting yourself up for a fall. This will happen if you have also not prepared yourself for the worst. Preparing yourself for the worst just means that you at least have considered the possibility, and taken the necessary steps for dealing with it. Tip number 75, do it, no matter how long it takes. It is very important that you do not give up on your goal just because your route to success turned out to be longer and more twisted than expected. That is the card life has dealt you, so deal with it and, again, move on. Tip number 76, do not allow any source of frustration, problems, or depression to get worse. Eliminate it right away. If there is anything troubling you and making it difficult for you to stay focused and motivated, get rid of it right away. Nip it in the bud and do not wait for it to turn into a full-fledged disaster. Tip number 77, think of all those who did not reach as far as you did. If you were to crow out loud about your victories, then this would be boasting. But you are not. You are just quietly reflecting on how far you have gone and what you have achieved that others cannot. Sometimes, a person has a tendency to keep on comparing himself to those he feels is better than he is, that he fails to realize how much he himself has done more than the others. When you realize that, you will see for yourself that accomplishing more than others does not make you better. You just happen to be luckier, perhaps, or more patient. The same goes for those who have done more than you. Motivation is also a matter of time. You will get your goal, you just have to work hard and keep your eyes on your destination. Conclusion: at the end of the day, there is one final thought that you should remind yourself of when contemplating your next step. The only difference between a man who succeeded and a man who failed is that one of them stopped trying. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.